2020 regular Board of Health remote meeting to order. We're still remote, hopefully in the near future. Hopefully in the near future, we will begin live face-to-face meeting again, but I can't tell you when. Our board member, Libby Wolojevich, will represent everyone in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Please, Mrs. Wolojevich.
Thank you, Dr. Weiner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very, very much.
Hi.
I'm going to call on Mr. David McSweeney, my vice chair, to first read the legal notices for this meeting.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Burlington Board of Health is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in that order. As a reminder, that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may do so by turning into BCAT Government Cable Access Channel, the BCAT Government Meeting Facebook Live feed, or over the telephone at toll-free 408-418-9388 with a passcode of 129-313-2298. That's toll-free 408-418-9388, passcode 129-313-2298. Also, we will be monitoring the comments on Facebook Live to see if there are any that the board may wish to address. And as a reminder to the entire board that all votes are required to be done by roll call for virtual meetings. And with that, I will turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you very much. Approval of minutes, June 23rd, 2020. And please understand that each vote, as I will note in a few minutes, will be by roll call. So we have approval of the minutes, June 23rd.
Motion
Do I
to
have a
approve.
motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Dr. Saltzman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Vice Chair David McSweeney. All in favor? Mr. McSweeney?
Aye.
Dr. Saltzman?
Aye.
Libby Wolojevich?
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch?
Abstain.
Okay, and I vote aye. 4-0-1. Thank you very much. That's passed. Chairman's report. I am Ed Weiner, and I'm chairman of the Board of Health. I am here remotely with my board members, David McSweeney, vice chair, Dr. Wayne Saltzman, Libby Wolojevich, and Mary Beth Welch. Also with us tonight are Susan Luminello, who is Director of Public Health, Christine Mathis, Environmental Engineer, Marlene Johnson, Health Agent, Samantha Hardy, Dawn Cathcart, our recording clerk, Sarah Kortemash from our Board of Health Administration team, who is also providing the IT and administrative support. My report, these times continue to be extraordinary, but we're getting there. Our COVID-19 cases are stable, hopefully continuing to decline. Our town has and continues to face continued and new challenges every day, and we will continue to work both independently and with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to ensure everyone's safety. As I have said a number of times, I'm proud that we are meeting all of the challenges head on We've been using plans that we've developed and drilled, practiced months and months and even years ago, while all employing novel and innovative solutions that we continue to develop. I want to again thank our staff, our many volunteers, especially those within the Medical Reserve Corps, and clearly my elected board members. Selectman Hogan, former Board of Health member, last week publicly joined many other town officials that have acknowledged the Board of Health efforts. I want to thank you all. Tonight, we will be voting by roll call. We have one of the most difficult, diverse, and long agendas that we have had in many, many years. I may be changing, in fact, I will be changing the order because we have a couple of small agenda items that we can go through very quickly with citizens who have joined us that we need to address animal permits that we can dispose of very quickly and then move on to some of the more complicated agenda items this evening. Subcommittee reports. I know we have one. Mr. McSweeney, do you want to hold that until the application process?
Mr. Chair, I think that makes sense.
Okay. We have two keeping of animals permits, one of 75 Peach Orchard Road and the other for 130 Pearl Street, keeping of animals. So we'd like to take those off the middle of the agenda and move it to right now. Could I have a motion to change those, please?
So moved.
Who was that? So I heard the second, which is Ms. Welch. Who made the motion, please?
I did, man.
Okay, Wayne Saltzman. All in favor? David McSweeney,
Aye.
Wayne Saltzman,
Aye.
Longevich,
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch,
Aye.
and I say aye, 5-0. So, the first is keeping of animals, 75 Peach Orchard Road, 6 chickens. Do we have Mr. Cioffi?
Yes, good afternoon.
I'm sorry,
Yes, sir, present.
did I pronounce your name wrong?
Coffee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess our Samantha Hardy is going to present this. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm here.
Thank
Can you hear me?
Yes, Samantha is our Associate Health Inspector.
Hello. So I conducted the inspection and everything looked good to me. They had the proper setbacks. The coop was big enough for the number of chickens they are going to get, which was 4, which is what I was told, but they're applying for 6 in case they want to expand that. And I was told that they're going to add on to their coop and make it bigger. So then it will be big enough for 6 chickens if they do that. They have a fenced off area where they're going to keep the chickens, so they won't be running around free. And everything looked good to me, so I don't see any reason why we couldn't grant the permit today.
One question, did the control officer, did he approve?
I haven't heard back from him, no.
But you approve it?
Yes.
My professional does it. Do we have any questions? For Mr. Cioffi?
Dr. Weiner, I have no question. The coop looks quite nice. It seems to is in accordance with our regulations, and our associate inspector approves it. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
So I have a motion by Wayne Saltzman, second by, I'm sorry, was that?
Libby.
Oh, by Libby. I don't want to go foul, so I'd like to roll call. David McSweeney,
Aye.
Wayne Saltzman,
Aye.
Libby Wallen-Jevitz,
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch,
Aye.
and I say aye. Mr. Siafi, you have been approved. We wish you well.
Thank you.
I'll ask our Associate Health Inspector, will he get something in writing soon?
Yeah, so I'll let Sarah know and we can send out the permit once all set, once the paperwork's done.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Mr. Siafi, you don't have to listen in, and you're welcome to stay on as long as you want, but we went through your approval very quickly, so I wish you well. Please stay well and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your help. Good night.
Our second keeping of animals is 130 Pearl Street for 15 chickens. Is Mr. Carlos Sandoval there, please? Do I have Mr. Sandoval there?
I'm not sure if he's on. I can't
there's
tell.
There's nobody by that name listed. There is a phone individual, but nobody with that name is listed on the participant list, Dr. Weiner.
Thank you.
This is Susan. We do have a call-in user. So we have someone not identified as a call-in.
They may actually be trying to speak, but may be muted.
Can the call-in person identify themselves?
Yes, it's Paul from the Yard House.
Okay, so it looks like he's not on.
Okay. So Susan, we will continue this to the next meeting, I guess.
Okay,
Unless our Associate Health Inspector feels that we can go forward.
I mean, if there's no questions for him, I mean, I can answer most of the questions that you have because I did do the inspection. So, I mean, unless there's specific questions that you have of him.
Samantha, I have a question. This is Mary Beth.
I'm sorry? Please don't all speak at once. I'm hearing some echo here and it's a little difficult.
It's Mary Beth. I have a question, but I can wait my turn if someone's ahead of me.
Okay.
I had a question too, but I can wait.
Can these questions be held to the next meeting, or you feel that you have enough information from Ms. Hardy to go forward?
I'm hoping.
I have Dr. Weiner.
Yes.
This is Libby. I couldn't pull up anything on that item on the agenda. It just said the website wasn't available. So I have no idea, except that we're looking at 15 chickens.
Okay.
So I was able to read the document and I did a drive-by. So I think Samantha might be able to answer my questions, but if we can't get all the questions answered, I'll wait till the next meeting.
So Mary Beth, please ask Samantha. See what
Okay, Samantha. So you've already done the inspection. It's inspected for 15 chickens. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can it house more than 15? Or is it limited to 15, the size that was built?
For the limit, over the space required for the 15. It was a big coop.
Yep. No, I saw it. So. Okay. I was just curious if it could go past 15. If not, would he have to expand? Is what you said?
Yeah, so depending on how many more chickens he gets. So we do usually 2 to 3 square feet per chicken. So I measure the coop and then do the square footage.
And this isn't for, is this for a new permit or this is for an existing permit just to have additional chickens?
So he had the chickens previous and didn't know he needed a permit for it. So that's
Great.
why we're here.
Okay, thanks for answering my question, Samantha.
No problem.
Dr. Weiner, this is Susan. I
Yes.
do want the board to be aware that he was notified that he needs to get a permit from the planning board as well, because he's keeping more than 6 chickens. So I don't know if you have any questions for him around that. I did speak to the planning board and they told me that he called their office inquiring about it, but I don't know at this point whether or not he has submitted anything to them, although that is independent of your approval.
So, Mr. Chairman,
the board had the
yes,
permit prior
Yes,
to.
David.
I just think there's a, because it's such a high amount of chickens, let's continue this to the next meeting, and I'll make a motion to do so. And we should probably bring the applicant back in or in again and question it. I don't know if I feel comfortable with all the questions, particularly if it's got to go in front of the planning board. So I'll make a motion to continue.
Yeah, I don't want to lay an egg.
I echo that. I'll second that.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, David McSweeney,
Sorry, aye.
Wayne Saltzman,
Aye.
Libby Wallen-Jevitz,
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch,
Aye.
and I'm aye, 5-0 to continue this to the next meeting. Thank you. All right. We are now going into a discussion with the School Committee Board of Health Subcommittee. And we have, I hope, Martha Simon and Carl Foss, who have been invited. I hope they're on the line. I see that Carl is, and I see that Martha is. Carl and Martha, please, why don't you present what you would like to talk to us about?
Hi, I'll speak first. Carl and I figured that out already. And we want to, first of all, thank you for inviting us to come. Carl and I are the subcommittee of the school committee to liaison with the Board of Health. It's been a subcommittee that's been pretty minimal in the past, but given our pandemic, it has become a really important liaison. And so first of all, I want to thank the Board of Health and especially Susan Luminello for all of your help determining how to proceed and how to keep our students and staff safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. We're really pleased that a couple of our school nurses volunteered to help the town with the contact tracing this spring. So, I mean, we just, you know, the state gave guidelines, but we really depended a lot on Susan and you folks to do a good job. We also, in addition to getting our basic health information from you folks, the school district is working with the Ariadne Group, which is a partnership between the Harvard School of Public Health and Brigham and Women's Hospital. So we also receive regular guidance updates from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education through the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. So we are grateful for all of these organizations and groups that we are getting information from, because that's your specialty and your area of expertise. So thank you for everything you've done to get us this far. And I was glad to hear the report at the beginning of the meeting that things are stable in Burlington, and that's a really good thing to hear. Now going forward, it appears that many of the pandemic decisions that need to be made are being left to the local elected bodies. Given this reality, the cooperation between our local boards is even more important. The school department does look forward to working with the Board of Health and Susan as we make plans for managing the pandemic, the COVID pandemic in the fall. No matter what our final plans are for the reopening of the schools, which is fluid at the moment, we don't know. We are just grateful to be working with you folks and appreciate everything that you're doing. Mr. Foss and I also feel that's important, and I've talked to a couple of members of the Board of Health, that there's another pandemic going around in our country, and that is racism. So we also want to partner with the Board of Health to do the anti-racist work in Burlington. It is clear that racial injustice is a public health crisis, and we want to ensure that our strategies to address it are comprehensive We hope to use the expertise of all the town agencies to collaboratively implement the changes in Burlington needed to increase equity and achieve our anti-racist goals. At our last school committee meeting, the school committee passed an anti-racism resolution that was promoted by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. So it's a resolution that's being promoted by a number of school committees all over the state. If you're interested, I could read, I wouldn't read all the way, there's a lot of those whereases, but I could read you the so resolved. I also shared the full resolution with Susan and Ed just earlier before this meeting. So I will now see, I'll leave it to Carl if he has anything else to say through the chair, if that's okay.
Mr. Foss, this is Ed Weiner. First, congratulations on your election to the school committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And thank you for having us at your meeting tonight. I will echo everything that Martha said and also emphasize that we are looking forward to the relationship between the school committee and the Board of Health in order to continue the work of keeping students and staff in the schools safe and kind of by extension, everyone in all the families in Burlington. So thanks again.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you both, what are the next steps? Would you like me to nominate or to appoint a member or two members to this committee so you can meet at some point? I think that may be the best next step, and you can get together then and talk about your priorities and where we need to go with this committee. I think the committee is very important. I think Dr. Saltzman had talked about racism in our last, as a public health issue in our last call. So I will appoint somebody and I'll let you both, two people, and I'll let you both know. Is there anything else that you would like me to do or like to move forward with?
Well, I think it is an ongoing conversation. So I think that your idea to appoint two members that we can liaison with going forward would be a really helpful idea in terms of, especially in terms of the anti-racism work. So that would be great, I think.
I will send you the two members that volunteer within the week or so, and you can move forward. I really want to thank you very much for joining us. This is so important. I am so happy that we're going to work even closer together. We are working very close to your staff members, your superintendent, assistant superintendent, and I work very closely with your chair. So I want to thank you so much. This is a wonderful collaboration. And with that, if there's nothing else, in gratitude, please be safe and be well.
Dr. Weiner, can I add?
Sure, fair.
Dr. Weiner, I'm very pleased with that the school committee has created this or has reinforced this liaison. I have heard Mr. Foss speak before his election, and I was very pleased to see that he is now part of the board. I know Ms. Simon and her husband, Mr. Montfort, personally. They are not only advocates to the highest level for our children, but they are both advocates for social justice. So I can think of really no two better members of the school committee than to join with the Board of Health to discuss this public health crisis. And Mr. Chair, if I could offer a consideration that while racism has been the appropriate spotlight, that we're really talking about all disparities that do occur and that do affect our children. So I would like to keep it at a more broad level rather than that specific focus alone.
That would be a discussion with the new committee, but I thank you very much. I know you're very interested in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Take care and be well.
Thank you.
This is a good place right now, is to go back and to ask if there's anybody, and I didn't see anybody on the line here, any citizen who would like to speak to either the school committee or myself, or this board, who is not on the agenda. I did not see anybody. I'll ask again at this time. If not, we will move on. Thank you so much to the school committee members. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Carl and Martha. Okay, which brings us to applications. Application for a preliminary subdivision, which also includes another application, and we can do them separately but together, a definitive subdivision for 200, 400, and 600 Summit Drive. And we have today, we have Mr. Buckley. Who else are you with, Mr. Buckley?
Mr. Chairman, Scott Weiss, I believe, from the Guterres Company is on the line.
How are you, Scott, who's been in front of us many, many times?
Well, let me explain what we're doing, Mr. Chairman. We had to file a preliminary subdivision because it's a commercial piece of property, and under Mass General laws, you have to have a preliminary before you file a definitive with respect to commercial property, as well as under your local regulations. There's no change between the two, no difference, I'm sorry. This is a culmination of the last year and a half. The town has adopted or altered the IH zoning to permit life science uses. There were two rounds of rezonings on this property. The first was probably 70% of the property. The last town meeting rezoned a portion of the property with the lot 200 on the plans that you're before you, because that was left out of the first rezoning because we needed some additional consents before we could go forward. So the entire parcel now has been zoned to IH with the idea that this is advancing the town's policy to go for life science. To that end, there's an existing subdivision way called Summit Drive. In order to create a new lot, which is in the rear that abuts 128, for the potential attraction and eventual construction of a new life science user, we had to make a minor modification to the layout of the cul-de-sac. No construction is being proposed. The layout of the cul-de-sac had to be increased by about 2,100 square feet in order to provide the necessary frontage for that new lot. That's all that's being done. If and when we have a user, we will be back before the board for your permits, as you have a role on life science, as well as the planning board permits, which will address all the other issues attended to the site, such as drainage and utilities, et cetera. But at this point, all we are doing is adding to the layout, not constructing, just adding on the ground, lines on the paper, changing the layout of the cul-de-sac to permit the adequate frontage for this new lot to complete this, for lack of a better term, campus.
Mr. Weiss, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you. Thank you all to the board. Thank you to Attorney Buckley. I think he did a fabulous job overviewing what we're here for tonight.
I have a few questions, but I'll open it up to my board first. Would anybody have to ask questions of the two proponents? Well, I guess it's me. First one, this abuts North Ave. Are there abutters on North Avenue that would be impacted by this?
There's no change to the abutters. I mean, the setbacks and everything remains the same. So again, the only change being the alteration of the cul-de-sac.
Okay. As you know, Mr. Buckley, the Board of Health has a major role under the Subdivision Control Act for subdivisions, as you know. And I just want to make sure that you realize, and I know you do because you've been before us more times than I have been at meetings in the last 30 years, about that.
I'm going to ponder that one. So,
But I just want to add two conditions, and these are nothing that has not been written already, except in the preface, in the in the paragraph that introduces this to us. This is nothing different except if this comes before our board 20 years from now, and I forgot when it comes before me, I just want two quick restatements that don't probably have any impact whatsoever, because I think either you wrote them or Mr. Weiss wrote them. And this is what they're going to read, and I will send this, if you agree, I'll send this to our recording secretary. If not, we can discuss it. The proposal will, as it's written in the opening paragraph, proposal one, the condition one, the proposal will require a reconfiguration of lot lines and an eventual modification of the existing roadway layout, which is Summit Drive, to create frontage for the new lot 300, which is exactly what you're doing.
Right.
The second condition is any future construction and roadway modifications would be subject to site plan approval, including a review of site contamination history and stormwater management, among other site considerations. This is a reminder, and it just states that everything has to come back to us. I don't think it changes anything. It restates the paragraph, which I think you sent to us.
could you just repeat the first sentence, Dr. Weiner, of the second
Sure.
condition?
Yeah, of the second. Any future construction and roadway modifications would be subject to site plan approval, including a review of site contamination history and stormwater management,
Okay.
among other site considerations.
I think you should modify that to say any future construction on any lot, because you're not going to be constructing in the roadway. So we'll have to go to the planning board for site plan approval, and that will then come to you for your recommendations.
So what about roadway
And
modification?
then you have that authority already. I have no problem with both of them.
Then
But
why
when
don't
you,
you put,
yeah,
okay,
so, yeah, so if you just add the words on any lot,
okay, so any future construction, any lot and roadway
on any lot, and
on,
on any lot, or alteration of the roadway, that's fine. In substance, I don't think we have a problem.
any future construction on any lot
Yep.
and roadway modifications would be subject to site plan approval, correct?
Yeah, okay, that's sufficient.
Okay,
Yep.
that's it.
Yep.
And I think you probably wrote that yourself in your submission. This is just to remind the board and remind your future partners that things have to be done before final approval. Just to, well,
It's always been my operation to do that way, to do that.
I understand, but I'm not sure that, you may, 20 years from now, you may be sending one of your more junior.
God willing, if I'm here 20 years from now, I'm gonna hug you.
Motion to deny. No, is there
Yeah,
any other
Mr. Chairman,
questions?
no,
Yes.
there's no questions. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think the applicant understands that they need to come back and forth, and we're covered particularly with the addition of the recommendations that they need to come in front of us. So I'll make a motion to approve. Now, do I have to do these separately because they are the
Yes,
same, Susan?
you have to do them separately because a
That's great.
preliminary needs to be brought forward, and I have
Yeah.
and I have no objection to any of these, just as a reminder I put in. So yes, I have a motion for the preliminary.
With the modifications of the conditions as stated by the chairman.
Okay.
Second.
And I have a second. I'll put it to a vote. David McSweeney,
Aye.
Wayne Saltzman,
Aye.
Libby Wallenjevitz, Libby, are you,
Oops, I was muted. Aye.
Mary Beth Welch?
Aye.
And I say aye, 5-0. Now, would someone please make a motion to approve the definitive subdivision?
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion by Wayne Saltzman, seconded by Mary Beth Welch. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor? David McSweeney,
Aye.
Wayne Saltzman,
Aye.
Libby Wallen-Jevitz,
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch,
Aye.
and I say aye, 5-0. Mr. Buckley, thank you for coming. We
Mr.
really
Chairman,
appreciate.
can I make a comment? First of all, I want to acknowledge.
Let me first thank Scott Weiss. I appreciate him being here also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please, Mr. Buckley.
First of all, on behalf of the Gutierrez Company, thank you for your attention to this. But I think I speak for a lot when I say thank you for the last 4 months of the dedication and the civil. You are truly heroes. What you've done behind the scenes. You know, I have the advantage of sometimes seeing it, but I really do want to recognize that. And I have one favor that I'd like to ask of all of you, which is to stay healthy.
Thank you very much. Any
Thank
other
you.
comments from the board? Mr. Buckley, stay well, be safe. Mr. Weiss, be safe, stay well. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.
20 years from now.
I can just say we hope to be back sooner than 20 years and continuing some of the good work in cooperation with the board and the town. So thank you very much, and hope you all stay well as also.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, folks.
Okay, thank you. The next application is for a definitive subdivision, 0 Chandler Road, Mill Pond Lane. Do we have the applicants here?
Yes, I'm here, Greg Hickox.
Okay, please state your name for the record.
Greg Hickox from GTH Homes.
Okay, Greg Hickox, okay. And are you alone?
No, Steve, I believe, Steve Dress, I am alone. Steve Dresser should be on, my engineer. Steve?
He was on mute. He looks like he's here.
Okay.
Dawn, did you get the 2 names?
Yes, I did.
Much. And, okay. Please, whom is going to present?
I am, if you can hear me.
Okay, we
Steve
can.
Dresser, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Nobody's acknowledged they can hear me. Yes, okay.
Yes.
For the record, Steve Dresser, Dresser Williams and Way. I'm representing GTH Homes on this matter before you. This is a definitive subdivision. Mr. Hickox and his partner are hoping to construct 3 lots on this site through some hard work with the planning board. They revised what initially was an approval not required presentation, where it would not have been considered a subdivision. In order to make a better site, better looking, the planning board asked them to revise the plan and turn it into a 3-lot definitive subdivision. As such, we redid it, designed the cul-de-sac, designed the drainage, and as the overseer of drainage for a definitive subdivision, we are appearing before the Board of Health. We've gone through a few iterations of this. Ultimately, we ended up, I don't know, can I share my screen or anybody have plans?
Why don't you share your screen? If you can share your screen, it would be helpful.
Sir, can you authorize him to share his screen?
Okay, am I on? Can you all see it?
No, we cannot.
Are you able to
Not
see
yet.
it?
I see Christine.
Hi, Chris. My screen says that you're sharing your screen. So I don't think it's on my end.
Okay, we have the plans. I would assume we have the plans in front of us. So we do have something.
Okay,
you are-
let me do my best. I'm gonna use my what I can see to describe it, and hopefully you can follow along. On the westerly side, there is a cul-de-sac that creates the frontage required for the 3 lots. The drainage flows from that westerly side down, will be caught by the cul-de-sac. There's a low point with a catch basin, deep sump and hood that flows into an infiltration system. One of the soil type here is a loamy sand, which is considered a rapid infiltration rate under the stormwater management. So there needed to be additional pre-treatment beyond that catch basin. We have designed what's known as an isolator row within this infiltration system, which is a row of chambers are double wrapped with fabric paper. The bottom would be fabric paper for ease of maintenance. And that first row would catch about 2 inches of rain. I think it's 2.47 inches of rain, and treat that stormwater. Use that filter fabric to remove the suspended solids to give us that needed extra pre-treatment required for that. Larger storms into the infiltration system, overflows, and as per stormwater management, a reduction from pre-development to post-development. There are also several infiltration system, gutter systems, and stone trenches on the lots that run into those, and again, are part of the drainage system. So each individual lot in-house also has gutter system and stone trenches for the roof runoff and the driveway runoff.
Okay.
That pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions, again, we do meet, I believe, the requirements of the Board of Health. Christine has offered some conditions to us that we've reviewed and have no problem with.
Christine, would you please tell us your approval or denial or whatever?
Hi, Dr. Weiner. I recommend approval with the 11 conditions that were submitted. The current drainage system does not have any standing water in any of the rain events that were done in the stormwater calculations. And the addition of the isolator row allowed for the required removal of suspended solvents without that standing water issue. So that has been resolved. And I think that's it.
Thank you. So you recommend approval.
Yes, I do.
We have a subcommittee report, who will take it on from here. David McSweeney, who was on the subcommittee, and his vice chair. David?
Yeah, the report is included in the board documents as well, but we did meet with Mr. Hickox and Mr. Dresser. Gosh, it's probably about a month or so ago. In the original, this is far different from the original plan. The original plan they came to the board with was an above ground infiltration basin that was going to hold some standing water. Ed and I voiced some concerns around the proposal of such because it's against the stormwater management regulations. The applicants went back to the drawing board, and the plan that you see within the board material is below ground now and handles, again, the water runoff, as Christine was just mentioning, with no standing water. So, the applicant has been great working with us, and I don't see any reason why to deny this. I think the new plan is fitting all the requirements at this time.
Thank you very much. Susan Luminella, do you have any comment?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for either Mr. Hickox. Did I say that correct? Mr. Hickox and Mr. Dresser.
You did, thank you.
Do I have anybody has any other? This has been a very long process. We've had a lot of twists and turns. I think that the final design meets the regulations, and I am for this. My only question was, what is in lot 4, Mr. Dresser? What is lot 4?
What is in lot 4? It's not intended to be developed at this time. The intent, if things go the way that we assume they're going to go, it's Mr. Hickok's intent to donate that back to the town. His property backs up to Mill Pond Conservation Area. So he thinks it would be a good contribution to the town, well worth having additional access to the conservation area.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question, and maybe for Susan. But so we notified abutters and neighbors, and have we heard from any or any on the phone now?
So this is Susan. So we don't notify the abutters. The abutters.
Planning board.
The planning
Okay.
board, yeah, but
Yep.
we haven't
Okay.
heard from any of them.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
So we have a plan. We have a recommendation from both the subcommittee and our environmental engineer. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So we have a motion by by Dr. Saltzman, second by Mary Beth Welch. All in favor? David,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Libby,
Aye.
Mary Beth,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Thank you very much. It is approved 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you all.
time. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, who is speaking? Does anybody else?
I
No,
just,
we were just thanking you,
Oh, okay,
Dr. Weiner.
okay, Weiner. Mr.
Weiner,
Hitchcock,
sorry.
yes, thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Weiner. Thanks for the
Okay.
team.
thank you. All right, we go on to the next. We have a permit for Sarepta 55 Network Drive Biological Safety Permit applications. Do we have a representative or representative from Sarepta?
Yes, we do. This is Jason Karima, the head of EHS at Sarepta Therapeutics, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, so it's okay. Okay, Jason, I'm sorry, second, last name?
Karima, Karima.
Thank you.
I
And-
also am joined with by Maruf Alam, who is a senior scientist at the facility for our gene therapy process development group. Dana Buckley, who is a
Could you
biological
please,
safety
excuse for the record for our recording secretary, Maruf please spell his first name.
Maroof.
Okay, and his last name is Alam, 1L, ALAM.
Yep.
And who is your third colleague, please?
Brooke Sapia.
Could you please spell those?
Yep. BROOKE SAPIA.
Dawn,
Did you get? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Did you also get Dana Buckley as well?
oh, Dana Buckley, DANABUCKLEY.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Cathcart, do you have all of those?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And who will be presenting, Mr. Karima?
I will be presenting on our biosafety permit, and Maruf is our expert who can answer any of the technical biological questions pertaining to our process.
Okay, is it Dr. Maruf?
That I don't
Yes,
know.
please.
It is?
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the PhD gives me a doctorate, so yeah. Hi.
I know that. All right. Can you present your slides. Do you have slides?
Yep. And hopefully you can see that
We
here.
see them. Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So as I said, I'm Jay Karima. I'm the head of EHS at Sarepta Therapeutics. We've been operating in Network Drive for about a year and a half now, maybe a little bit more. Just want to take the time to say thank you to everybody for joining and listening about our biosafety program that we have and constantly improving and evolving. So I'll go ahead and move through the slide deck today. If anybody has any questions, just please feel free to speak up, and I can get those taken care of. So brief overview about the safety and health training requirements at the company. It makes sense to start here when presenting and talking about our biosafety program. It really does start at the bottom with general lab safety, including compliance training, emergency preparedness, hazard communication, PPE. We also do a chemistry and a chemical hygiene training and safety training for all of our employees in the Burlington spaces. This includes, again, the chemical hygiene plan review, chemical storage, safe handling practices, how to use fume hoods, the differences between fume hoods and, BSCs and biosafety cabinets is covered a little bit there, a little bit more in our biosafety training, which includes bloodborne pathogen training for all of our employees in the laboratories. In addition to these, our employees do receive a high-level hazardous waste generator training, although the site is a small quantity generator of hazardous waste that really is limited and not the focus of what we're doing in the building. We conduct this training within 30 days of hire and annually as a refresher for all of the employees that have access to our lab space. The programs that we have in place, we've worked with a lot of different consulting companies that are recognized as industry leaders in biotech to develop the programs, and we maintain a high level of compliance at all of our sites. Currently, Sarepta is operating in Burlington, Massachusetts, Andover, Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Dublin, Ohio, and we recently added a site in Durham, North Carolina. So the company is rapidly growing. And has changed quite a bit just since the last time we presented. We do have continuous improvement efforts as a business. We have inspections and auditing protocols that we have identified, including a lab safety inspection that's owned and performed by our lab managers and their direct reports. And the intent there is to get everybody out there with, with the knowledge, tools, and training to do their job. And not only that, but to take a second look at how we are operating our labs, and it's a good way to drive engagement. We do present these results at a monthly site meeting with our site leadership, and it's a metric that's important for us to track. We use EHS management system called Velocity EHS to monitor our compliance activities. The inspections that we're speaking of are actually going to be integrated into this system in the next month or two to allow for easier tracking on our end. But the main focus of what we're really looking to drive there is corrective actions and preventative actions as a result of those, and make it more visible to the business. We do have safety health programs fully implemented, not limited to, but certainly including contractor safety, PPE. You guys could read all those at the bottom there. Any copies of those programs are available upon request. We do have them in place, and we make sure that we are executing to those programs. Our hazardous and biological waste programs that we have, they're actively managed daily by Sarepta employees, and we also have disposal contracts in place with Veolia and Stericycle, respectively, for our chemistry waste and our bio waste. Our Sarepta employees receive spill response training, and that's included with our haz waste and chemical hygiene, our haz waste training and our chemical hygiene training. That training is also initial and as well as annual refresher. Our bio waste pickups have been trending down a little bit due to limited lab use, but at our peak, it's sometimes upwards of 2 times a week, just due to space limitations and challenges of logistical challenges at the site of getting the materials up and down. So it's easier to just get more frequent pickups. We are a small quantity generator, so the chemical waste is pretty minimal, and that is much less of a focus for us. Any of the in-lab storage inspection areas are inspected with the bio-waste and our hazardous waste main accumulation area inspected weekly by trained and authorized personnel. And that being said, only trained and authorized personnel are allowed into those long-term storage facilities. So we address additional training for spill response with HazWOPR, and then also any manifests associated with the chemical waste or biological waste. There's associated training there too. We have a comprehensive medical surveillance program monitoring our employees. So this is really decided upon, for which protocols we have in place. We do in all of our labs offer hepatitis B vaccine series to all employees. It's not required, but they can opt out if they'd like to, but it is offered. We work closely with Concentra Medical Services to monitor this program. So if we knock on wood, we haven't had any incidents or exposures to date, but if we did, we have a program in place that can help monitor the employees to ensure a full recovery. We've implemented a pest control program that's consistent with all the other sites that we have. Our employees are notified that if they see any pests or rodents, that we need to hear about that immediately, and we communicate that with our local facilities manager, and we also have a facilities technician on site in our Burlington operations. In that program, we just identify the service schedule, and any on-call services that may need to be addressed there. We also do have a logbook for any time the pest control services are interacting with the site, whether it's a scheduled preventative maintenance or an on-call service call. We do have the contractor licenses in that pest control book. In January, we held a meeting to approve or to evaluate 3 protocols. These were the IBC members that we had. We had some very good community representation, from some folks that have worked with the business, for quite some time now. And yep, so that's who we had there. And then the protocols that we reviewed, we had 3 protocols. One is a BSL-1 operation, which includes recombinant AAV, specifically for the development of pharmaceutically acceptable manufacturing processes. Really what we were looking to do out of Protocol 1 was to assess the scalability of the process that we developed in Ohio, but really with a focus to optimize key metrics for production efficiencies and product purity. And then the second thing we were looking to do with Protocol 1 was to study the large-scale process and products produced by our contract operations, and utilizing similar tools to understand the parameters, and then again tying it back to the production efficiencies and product purities. This protocol was approved by the board, by our IBC back in January. Protocol 2, again, a BSL-1 process, was for novel plasma generation and characterization in our laboratory, in laboratory strains of E. coli. And then Protocol 3, which is our BSL-2 operation, which was to review and approve assay development using human adenovirus 5 and the HeLa cell lines to assess products provided from the process development and pilot run groups. So really the programs do piggyback off of each other, and in most cases they directly correlate with each other, just at different steps in our process. The last thing we did at our IBC was we reviewed our approach to our waste management and disinfection process at the site. And although that wasn't something that needed to be voted on, we did discuss it at length just to make sure that our approach for handling the waste and disinfecting any liquid waste was effective. From there, our program, we also have security protocols on site to ensure the physical security of the space. We have a security guard in the lobby of our third floor space Monday through Friday during normal operating hours. Our employees are issued badges and receive security awareness training during their new hire orientation. We're also piloting an access control program there, utilizing our employee cell phones so we can actually get real-time data for who's actually in what space, and that's tying in an effort to tie to the close contact and the contact tracing resulting from COVID-19. So we're using Burlington because it's a very controlled space in our business, and it is all things considered relatively active even today. All of the critical access points, labs, the hazardous waste areas, chemical and biological waste storage areas are locked by either a key or an access card. And again, we're going to be transitioning to that cell phone technology for there. For any critical other access points in operations, we have installed security cameras, and that can be monitored by at the security desk or by our facilities management, our managers and technicians. So that's what I had to present on our program. Did anybody have any questions pertaining to any of the protocols or the processes that we have going on?
The first step is I will ask our environmental engineer, who I thank very much for being on the committee. Miss Christine Mathis, what is your recommendation?
I recommend issuance of the biological safety permit.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I guess Dr. Maroof Alam is going to answer questions. Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chair, it's Wayne Saltzman. I don't have any questions per se. I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the adherence to oversight regarding the BSL levels 1 and 2. Just for the committee, Sarepta was recently awarded a fast track for its gene therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is the most common muscular dystrophy and it affects boys primarily with significant muscle loss and immobility early on. So congratulations to Sarepta from that. So that's a success for a company in our town that clearly adheres to safety protocols that the health favors. I would also, I do have one question, unrelated, but I think it also testifies to this company's dedication to the community. Can you tell us a little bit more about, or actually all I really want to know is if your program, Rare Lessons, is going to be educating Burlington youth about rare diseases?
Ooh, Dr. Saltzman, that's a really good question that I don't know that I can answer at this time.
I will just try to maybe add something. Sarepta, hi, this is Maroof. Sarepta does host, what would I say, in a very simple way, awareness programs, and also sponsors several of these meetings and programs which in different communities. I'm not sure I don't have a specific answer to your question whether it's happening in Burlington, but Sarepta does do a lot of awareness programs. And Jay, maybe you can take it to the Cambridge office, and maybe they can have something in Burlington too.
Yeah. You know what? I don't want to get off topic, but because we're here to discuss your protocols and approve your request. My only point is that the Board of Health takes an active role in understanding all of the other businesses that come before it, and we appreciate what you do in the town of Burlington and who you're helping along the way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions for Dr. Maruf Alam or for Jason Karima? Did I say it right, Jason?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the permit.
I have a motion to approve by Wayne Saltzman. Do I have a second? I'm sorry, that was Libby Wallen Jeffers seconds. Any more discussion? Yes, my discussion is we are very, please communicate this to your CEO that we are very proud to have Sarepta in Burlington and to thank you very much. And if you could do some type of community or high school program as a community, that would be just wonderful for people to see what you do and to understand how good you are. So with that, I'll present this. All in favor? David McSweeney.
Aye.
Wayne Saltzman.
Aye.
Libby Wallen-Jevitz.
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch.
Aye.
And Ed Weiner. That's me. Aye. That's 5-0. Congratulations. We wish you well. Please, I hope everybody at Sarepta is safe.
Thank you.
Well,
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board. Thank you very much.
good night.
All right, good.
Well, which brings us now to variance, Yard House, 108 Middlesex Turnpike, ROP Killy. And ROP is reduced oxygen packaging. Correct, Marlene?
That is correct. And we have on tonight, I believe Paul is here. I was expecting Mr. Rada from the corporate office, from their total control department, but he couldn't make it. So
I'm
Paul,
here,
the general
Marlene.
manager, what's that?
I'm here, Marlene.
Oh, you are?
I am G2C DXR1, yes.
Oh, good. Well, good to see you, David.
Thank you.
Okay. So
Do you have-
I'll just give,
Marlene, do we have the names, please, for the record? Who was on Paul, whom?
Paul, I'm going to have you spell your last name, please.
Absolutely. It's LESZCYNSKI.
Okay. And how do you pronounce it?
Very carefully. It's Lazinski.
Lazinski. Okay, and who is the other representative, please? Please.
David Rada. REYDA.
And DAVID. Thank you so much, Mr. Rada.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll start with a summary to let the board know what this variance is all about. This is a new variance. We haven't had one of these come before the board. So the cook chill is a process of food preparation that involves the rapid chilling of cooked food. Food is then reheated at a later date as needed. So the purpose of a restaurant using this process is to be able to cook a large volume of food that they can use at another time. And it's not vacuum sealed. It is placed into a bag. It is sealed, but it doesn't reduce the oxygen to zero. I just want to state that. The shelf life is the standard 7-day storage at 41 degrees Fahrenheit. I did review their hazardous analysis of critical control point plan, and I was pleased with it. They did a very good job. And I do have on my other summary here, just to let you know. So the food code standards for the cook chill will be followed. A log will be used to record the time and the temperature of the sauces. So they're going to use this process primarily for a variety of different sauces that are used as ingredients or as sides. And the sauces will be kept cold at 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be under refrigeration until they are needed. And once they are needed, they will be reheated to a minimum of 165 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 hours. So my recommendation to the board is to approve the variance with the following conditions. And Mr. Rada was provided these conditions. They're 1 through 5. I'll read them. So the HACCP plan, the HACCP plan shall be followed, and use of logs as described in the HACCP plan shall be used and on site for inspection. The HACCP plan shall be reviewed annually and initialed by the person in charge. If there are any changes, those changes shall be submitted to the health department. This variance is for the establishment listed on this variance and for no other location. This variance is approved for current owner, which is Darden Yard House, and is non-transferable to new ownership. And violations of this variance may result in a temporary suspension of the cook chill operation, and continued violations may result in the revocation of the variance.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions for either Paul L. or David Rada?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
So, typically the timed entities that come before us, there's it's a much shorter period of time. It's hours compared to days. So I just want to be satisfied that with regard to who's going to be checking on a daily basis that something is nearing expiration or has expired, since there's a 7-day window here. Is somebody going to be assigned to review? Is everybody going to be taking a look? Is the main chef involved? Can you help me understand the process?
Paul, if
Yeah,
you would please explain. Go ahead, Paul. Paul's
Yep,
the
I
general
certainly can.
manager of the restaurant.
It's all of the people involved on a daily basis. When the items are prepped, they go into the cooling, and then a cooling log is filled out hourly, tracking the temperature. So we want to get below 70 within the first 2 hours, and then below 41 before it's transferred into the walk-in cooler. Again, everything is labeled and dated throughout the production. I know the plan calls for 7 days. The sauce right now only has a maximum life of 5 days out of the sauces that fall under this plan. And when it goes in production, everything is dated and temped as well. And then in addition to that, we also have 2 specific line checks daily that look at temperature and quality and shelf life of all the products that are conducted by managers twice a day. That's a minimum.
Okay, so I wasn't satisfied with the people involved response, but I would be satisfied with that you have your managers specifically are tasked with reviewing these and checking them off for as satisfactory, nearing expiration, or expired.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
From a staffing standpoint, it would be the individuals that are responsible for prepping that item and then filling out the cooling log, which is then managed by the managers on duty.
All right, but if they're off or not working that day, regardless of the fact that they had prepped something, the managers are the overseers and are the ones who are ultimately held accountable to make sure that these tasks are completed?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just have one. So I know Yard House is fairly new to Burlington, but I'm assuming, and maybe I shouldn't assume, is this cook chill process in the HACCP plan being utilized in all of your locations currently?
Yes, we're not using it yet. No, we're in the process. We're not going to roll this out until we are approved in all the existing units. And we will then open that, when we open new restaurants, we will then open with the new system. We're currently taking the product out of the bag after it's cooled, out of the reduced oxygen environment, and placing it in a pan. What we'd like to do is eliminate that step because we were able to follow the 2013 code in doing so. And chill the product, keep it cold. We have actual continuous monitoring that we're putting in place where we have remote monitoring with sensors that we're using. So we'll have continuous monitoring where the managers will get a direct notification on their cell phone or iPad that would alert us of any spikes in temperature.
So that was actually the basis of my question. So this is brand new for all yard houses. This isn't just for the Burlington yard house.
No, we've been approved in Linfield, Dedham, and Boston. We just haven't rolled it yet because there were some other areas of the country where we were waiting to get approval.
Gotcha.
And Burlington opened, as you know, more recently than the others. So we weren't able to open with this system until with this current process that we're proposing, until we get full approval across.
Sure. So what is the benefit of to do this with the yard house? I mean, it sounds like there's a little bit of benefit from a cooking and storing perspective, but is there really that much of a benefit to the yard house?
Well, the benefit is there's less waste. There's less pans that need to be cleaned because you're keeping the product in a bag. You're heating it in that same bag, just as you would take bird's eye vegetables or something like that, and heat them up in water, in hot boiling water, and then take it out after it reaches that 165, as Marlene suggested, and we would put it in a pan at that point. So a little bit less spillage, better sanitation where you're not getting any splash over from product being in pans. You know, it's a sealed environment. It's protected from airborne contaminants. So there's a lot of advantages in that respect, quality-wise too, because you're not exposed to air as much.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm supportive of this. The yard house is fairly reputable, as you know, so I'm supportive of it. I just think we should probably monitor this closely since it's brand new for them and for us.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, that's a great segue. I was going to ask Marlene, as this is another precedent for us in Burlington. Do inspection protocols get modified in any way, or is this just business as usual from your wheelhouse?
It gets modified in the fact that this would be something that we're going to specifically look for and ask to see the log for. And with our digital health department software inspection program, Samantha and I are able to put notes right in there. So when we pull up that report, or I should say when we pull up the yard house facility, we see right on there that they have a variance. And so that will red flag it for us, and we know to ask to see these logs when we do our inspection.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I have one basic question from Marlene, and this really does not have anything to do with the variance per se, but just the science around this. This is the first, and I'll ask you for your indulgence. Clostridium botulinum, which is botulism,
Correct.
grows in reduced oxygen or anaerobic conditions. How is this assured that we don't have that type of a situation based on this process? And I only ask this question because I'm curious, and somebody may ask me, or I may get a phone call tomorrow morning from a lot of the scientific people in this community. So how does it work? Does the 165 kill the botulism toxin, or how is it protected from that? And I'll open that up to anybody.
Would be the toxin first, right?
So it would be the whole process. So it would be your cooking process, and then from there you're cooling it, and then the reheating process. So those are all your critical steps. And so each of those critical steps have to be followed to ensure that you have a safe product. Because it's not only Clostridium botulinum, but there's other pathogens too that can survive the cooling process. And if you don't reheat it properly, it can survive in that step as well. So all of those steps are important.
If I may add, Marlene, the other critical step really here is that it is a shorter shelf life. And originally, the shelf life parameters on this were originally 72 hours, and they've been through studies. They've found that the growth was insignificant, even into as long as that temperature control. So it's really about time and temperature here. And with the short shelf life, botulism and some of the others that live in an anaerobic environment really need several more days in manufacturing plants and things like that you'll find where there might be concerns. And I think with our temperature controls, we're well within those safe parameters.
Thank you. I guess the most important part here, Marlene, is you have recommended that we approve the variance with the conditions. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. With that, if there's no other discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the variance for Yard House 108 Middlesex Turnpike, the cook-to-chill methodology with the proposed recommendations by the health agent.
That is David McSweeney. And who seconded, please?
Libby.
Libby seconded. No discussion? All in favor? David McSweeney.
Aye.
Dr. Saltzman.
Aye.
Libby Wallenjevich.
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch.
Aye.
And I vote aye, which is 5-0. Thank you so much for coming. We wish you well in your endeavors here in Burlington, and we wish you success. And with that, thank you for coming. You have your variance. And I would just ask, Marlene, are you going to send them some paperwork?
I'm going to email it to them, so I'll do that by the end of tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you.
Thank
Be
you
safe.
very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity to present and participate.
And we
Thanks,
wish you
folks.
well.
Thanks.
Okay. We're getting there. Staff reports. Environmental engineer. Probably I'll just ask Christine. I know you've been very busy. Why don't you highlight anything you'd like highlight before we ask for questions?
Sure. In my report, you'll see an update on the risk ratings for Burlington with regards to West Nile virus and Eastern equine encephalitis. The risk rating for West Nile virus is low, and for EEE, it is remote. Those are the lowest risk ratings that are issued in those two categories. You may have heard in the news that West Nile virus positive mosquitoes have been found locally. The closest to us have been Belmont and Arlington. And there also have been some EEE positive mosquitoes trapped. Those are in out around northwest of Worcester and down by Plymouth. The other update I wanted to provide you was that we right now have a household hazardous waste collection event scheduled for September 12th. I did receive permission from the Francis Wyman School, which is where we normally hold that event, to proceed with that event, and I have lined up a vendor for the collection of our propane tanks and the actual household hazardous waste chemicals. So we're working on protocols to execute the household hazardous waste event in a safe manner and no contact manner as best we can. And we can discuss those protocols when they're a little bit further along. So I entertain any questions.
Do we have any questions for our environmental engineer? I have one if nobody has any. I know you have been working on a lot of the standards for the reopening. Uh, do you have any discussion or would like to talk about some of your obstacles around the review of phase 3, step 1 reopening standards for fitness and health clinics? Specifically, one issue that we had in town. Has that been resolved?
Yes, I've worked with Susan and Sam on the issue, a few recurring issue at a few health clubs and fitness centers. There was confusion in the standard with regard to client spacing, people actually exercising in the facilities, and with regard to physical equipment spacing and use. And those have been resolved. And Sam has done a couple of inspections to confirm that compliance.
Thank you very much. If there are no other questions, do I have a motion to approve the environmental engineer's report?
So moved.
Second.
That was Dr. Salzman and David McSweeney second. David?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
All in favor. David, please. You
No,
vote.
they're right. Aye.
Okay, Wayne?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Let me tell you, this ain't easy. It is not easy. Okay, our next is the health agent. We haven't heard from Marlene, been on the calls for a while. Thank you so much for joining us, Marlene.
Certainly.
It's so nice to have Mrs. Johnson here.
So I wanted to update the board as to what we're doing with some inspections. So with the restaurants, we have about 151 restaurants. So Samantha and I, we split them evenly. And we started in mid-June when the restaurants were allowed to open outside seating. And our goal was to get all of 151 restaurants inspected. So we did a condensed inspection report where we focused on the COVID-19 guidelines, as well as we focused on the food code risk factors for food safety. So we were able to hit the majority of restaurants, and let's see, we did all of them except 40 of them right now are not opened, and 25 of the 40 are actually corporate cafeterias. And so we're not sure when those are going to reopen. We've heard from a couple that said that they'll probably reopen in the fall, but the others we have not heard from. So we don't know the status of those. We have 3 that were confirmed out of business, and the remaining 12 are kind of slow to open. So we were told they're going to be opening over the next couple of weeks. So that's where we stand with the food establishments. The grocery stores, Samantha and I are doing a check of all of those this week, and we should be finished with those by the end of this week. Then starting August 1st, we plan to get back into our regular schedule of inspections, and those will be the regular routine inspections, and we'll be using the digital health department software to do those inspections. As far as the swimming pools, we had 2 condo complexes that chose not to open their swimming pools this year. The special purpose pools, which are your hot tubs, those right now are not allowed to open. There's talk that those will be allowed to open in phase 4. So I don't see any of those opening for the outdoor pools right now. And we just have to wait and see when phase 4 goes into effect to see how it will affect the indoor pools. And all of the pools have been inspected or will be inspected by the end of the summer. And there's just one pool right now that is expected to open. It's in a hotel. They had some problems with some electrical problems, and so they're the last ones that I'm expecting that will need to be opened. So we're holding on to that permit until we hear from them. Food trucks, we haven't had hardly any food trucks apply for a permit. I think we have 1 ice cream truck. We have the Chicken on the Road We have the whoopie pie, and I think that's it for food trucks. So we haven't had much action there for permits. So, and then I know Dr. Weiner is going to ask about complaints. And we did have a complaint come in. And I think there's some confusion out there with citizens. So phase 3, step 1, the indoor seating opened in restaurants, but that's only in restaurants. It doesn't include the food court. So the food court at the mall is not included in this, nor are the seating in any of the supermarkets. So if there are citizens listening, please be advised that these food courts are closed, and please take note of the signage that is posted. The complaint that we received recently was that a citizen was at the Burlington Mall and noticed on a few different occasions that citizens were sitting in the food court, and they were sitting on the benches with the signage that said that the area was closed. So it was brought to our attention, and I spoke to Justin Feldhaus, the general manager at the Burlington Mall, and he's made it pretty clear. He sent pictures, and I forwarded those to Dr. Weiner and to Susan. But it looks pretty clear now that you certainly can't be sitting there and eating in the food court. So that's really important. We've had some other complaints that came in about wearing face covers. Now, when you're in a restaurant, and maybe a lot of folks don't realize this, but when you're in a restaurant, you can take off your face covering when you're sitting down at the table. If you have to get up to use the restroom or to talk to somebody at another table, you have to put that face covering back on. And so we recently received a complaint about that. So a lot of this is just educating the public, educating the establishment, whether it be a restaurant or an office building or a pool or a gym. Is a lot of these just it's pure education and letting people know what those guidelines are.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for our health agent?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Marlene, do you mind just talking about, I just noticed in your report, well, didn't just notice, but in your report about the yard house, coincidentally enough, the small kitchen fire, just if you can just talk through it.
Oh, sure, yes. The fire suppression systems today are, they're fantastic. You know, I've been a health inspector now for almost 23 years, and I started in Boston, and I'll tell you, I've gone to some fires where, nothing was salvageable. And so now today, these suppression systems are so good. Sometimes they're too good. And so what happened in this situation is that the oil got a little bit too hot, and it just caused a little bit of a flame, and it set off the ANSEL system, which is the fire suppression system. And it just happened in this one particular area. So it wasn't the whole kitchen. It wasn't even the whole restaurant. It was just this one area here. So whenever there's a release like that, the fire department obviously is called out, and their protocol is to notify us. And so then we will usually respond. So it wasn't anything serious. The only damage was the water. So the water that came out of the system just kind of flooded the floor area, and the protocol there is any of the food that was out gets discarded, and they have to do a clean sanitize of the area, which they were able to do within a few hours and reopen later that evening.
Great, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Chairman, while I have 2 seconds, and I know we haven't gone through all the staff reports yet, but when I was going through the staff reports yesterday and today, each one was, I'm exaggerating, 25 pages long. And I just cannot, and I commend the staff, and I have consistently over the past 4 or 5 months, but every single one of them, not only are they doing their normal day-to-day responsibilities, inspections, and so forth, but then on top of that, having to deal with, as we reopen and kind of try to get back to business as usual, all the changes in and regulations, and how we support that as an organization within a community and do it best for the community. And then on top of that, and people don't even really think, because I don't even think about it, right? As Little League opens, how are we protecting Little Leagues? And then we get complaints or concerns voiced by parents, which they should, if they have it, they should be calling us. But dealing the day-to-day items, and then on top of that, having to effectively and efficiently manage through this chaos, and I'll call it chaos, and to do it in such a professional and positive way, and even then dealing with us as board members having to call in and dealing with our questions, and sometimes stupid questions. But I cannot, and I know we're not through all the staff reports, and I'm probably echoing a lot of the sentiments of the other board members, but it is incredible, the dedication, the commitment, and the professionalism that we have seen from this staff, and I cannot thank them enough. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Let's go back. Any other questions for Marlene? I have one question. And Marlene is smiling because Marlene suggested an outstanding book today, which I'm going to get, but I thought she should share it with all the board. So for everything else, she's doing her continuing education. Tell us about that book. And
So 2 weeks ago, when I was on my staycation, I read a book, and it's called The Poison Squad, and it's by Deborah Bloom, B-L-U-M. And if you're a history buff and you're into, the food code and how it all came to be, it's a really great book. I highly recommend it. And it's about a chemist, Harvey Wiley, who was hired by USDA in the 1880s. And it was just amazing to me to hear about how food was processed in that day and in age. The preservatives that they used, it was not unusual to put formaldehyde into milk for preservative, amongst other things. And some of the products, vanilla never had vanilla bean in it. Whiskey never had corn, and it's just amazing to read about this. So Mr. Wiley really pushed legislature and the numerous presidents that were under or were running the country at that time to get some sort of a law in place. And so the Pure Food and Drug Law finally was passed in 1906. So from 1880 to 1906, they finally passed a law that made food safer. And from there, the FDA was formed, and even more. I mean, now today, labels are required, ingredients are required. And it's amazing to think that back in the 1880s that none of that was required, and you didn't know what the heck you were eating. So a really interesting book if you're interested.
thank you very much.
And
You're
Wiley
welcome.
was the first commissioner of the FDA, so I can only imagine what he would say if he were around today.
Yes.
True.
Thank you, Wayne. Do I have a motion to approve the health agents report?
So moved.
Second.
Sounded like David McSweeney and Mary Beth Welch second. Am I right?
Correct.
All in favor? David?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
And I vote aye, 5-0. We have the Associate Health Inspector this evening, who's also with us, Samantha Hardy, and you've been busy too. So please let us know what you've been doing.
Hi, it's nice to see everybody again. It's been a while since I've been to a meeting. So I guess I'll just highlight a couple things. So I can let you guys know I went out and did all of the tobacco compliance inspections in June /1 in July to make sure that they got rid of all of their flavored products when that part of the regulation went into effect. And everyone was in compliance. So all of those were went well and everyone's on the same page. I think, there was some confusion about certain products because they're very sneaky with their packaging, but we figured it out, and I think everyone's on the same page, so we should be good with no more flavored tobacco products. And then I've also been working on the food as well with Marlene, doing the COVID checks, just making sure they're okay with their COVID policies. And I've also been working with Susan a lot on the camps. So we have 3 camps that are one that's currently running and 2 that are planning to open in August. And then many camps decided not to open this summer because it was not feasible. But we do have a couple that we're working with to try and make sure that their COVID policies as well as their regular procedures are in compliance. So I think that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Pretty difficult to open a camp right now. But we have 2 that are going to go through all of those obstacles.
3. So we have 1 currently running and 2 that will open in August.
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy to have you to keep an eye on that. Thank you so much. And there are no other questions. Oh, and if anyone has the time after the COVID pandemic, please go into Samantha Hardy's office. She's also an artist, and you can see one of her oils up to the left-hand top there. I go in and take a look at everything she's done new. So not only is she talented scientist, she's a talented artist. With that, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is Libby? And who's second?
It was Mary
Beth.
Beth.
Mary Beth, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Libby, did you second it?
Second, Wayne.
Wayne seconded. All in favor? David?
Aye.
Wayne?
As long as I get an oil painting.
Wayne?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
And I say aye, 5-0. And last, our Director of Public Health, who's back from a wonderful vacation, Susan Luminello, Director. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So from the last meeting, we've moved from phase 2 to phase 3, step 1. So as you can see from all of our reports, we have been doing a lot of work in trying to review all of the standards, which there's many standards, and then there's many updates. And then to assist the various businesses, sporting leagues, camps, offices with complying with all of the standards. So a lot of the work that we're doing now is to assist with that. We're also responding to complaints that we receive from the public, which we have received numerous complaints, either from the public or coming down from the Attorney General's office. The Mass Department of Public Health has opened a new hotline, which is on our website, where the public can go there to voice a complaint if they are out of town. So if anyone in Burlington goes to a different town and see something that they'd like to report, they can go to that line, and it will be vetted to the correct Board of Health. Anyone who, I just like to urge residents, if they do have anything that they see that they would like to report to us, they can email boh@burlington.org, and we are investigating and following up on all the complaints that we receive. I'd also wanted to point out, which I included in my report, is I did provide a listing to the board of everyone who has helped us out to date and the number of hours that they've spent on that. So we've got assistance from the Burlington Volunteer Reserve Corps, from town employees, and from outside agencies and helping us do contact tracing. They were making masks, delivering thermometers. So for our Burlington Volunteer Reserve Corps, they so far have put in a total of 605 hours assisting us, which totals, over $27,000 in when you take that amount of hours and base it on what their occupation is and the things that they have done. So that's just a tally of the assistance that we have had through this whole process. So it's not only us, but it's also our volunteers and other town employees and other members of the public that assist us as well. So we appreciate all of that. And with that, I guess I can answer any questions.
Hi, Ed, this is Mary Beth.
Mary Beth, please.
Hi. So Susan, first, to you and your staff, I want to echo what David said earlier. It took me a long time to read everybody's reports more than normally, but I echo exactly what David said of your entire staff. I also appreciated that you added in the volunteers in your report. I really appreciate that. That was it was an enormous amount of hours, and that you recognize those residents for volunteering. So thank you for including that in your report. And I really appreciate that you spoke of, and I think you and I spoke about this earlier this week because I've had residents.
Mary Beth, you're breaking up. Mary Beth, you're breaking up. Susan, you there?
I'm here. Yeah, I think we may have lost Mary Beth.
Can you?
Yeah, I guess we lost Mary Beth. Does anyone have any other questions for Susan? Susan, we have a MRC meeting tomorrow.
Yes, it's it's an annual meeting with the MRC, but it's also a training. It's called Radiation in Everyday Life. And Jennifer O'Riordan is going to be doing that presentation. It was something that we had planned back in March that we had to cancel. So we're doing it virtually tomorrow night. And we're expecting a lot of people to call in for that. And it's going to be taped and it will be put on our website. BCAT will be there and it will be put on BCAT, and we'll provide that to anyone who isn't able to attend.
Do I need to bring greetings?
To bring what?
Greetings.
Sure.
Do I need to? Last year you made me. I just don't want to cut caught without because I attend.
Yes, in the beginning of the meeting, if you're on, we'll call you out for that.
Thank you. Call me out. Huh?
I see Mary Beth is back too.
Yes, Mary Beth is back.
So anyway, Susan, I wanted to thank you for providing the information for residents. They need to reach out to the Board of Health and how your staff handles complaints or just questions, or they wanted to report in or just have discussions with you. So I appreciate that. I've had a lot of residents reach out to me. So I really appreciate you discussing the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Anybody else have comments or questions? Susan, with COVID-19 activities, with EEE, with flu season coming, as we heard today in the teleconference, with hoarding issues, with everything going on, do we need to talk about at a future meeting setting priorities, or are we okay? What would you like us to, as a board, to discuss with everything on your and your colleagues' plates?
So with priorities, I think we do that in our everyday work. I mean, if we feel that something needs to take precedence, we will put that first and foremost. We look at those things that are going to have the biggest benefit to public health and to the residents, and we will handle those situations first. So we do our own type of priority setting. With that said, we also make sure that we get to everything in a timely manner. So it's during this time, our priorities is looking at the COVID safety standards, it's contact tracing, and answering questions from the public. And also we're looking at, as our priorities, our normal activities that have to be done. So there are some things that we can, hold on back on at this time. Some of our MRC activities, our normal MRC activities, we're not doing. And obviously there's some programs that we just can't do. So I think that at this time we're doing, because of the excellent staff that we have, we are doing a good job in handling it. And, I feel confident that we're going to be able to continue that way as we move forward.
One last question. Today we heard on the teleconference, were you on the I think I saw you on the teleconference today, about August 1st, about each new visitor registering. But what caught me off guard was the fact that there are standards that are being proposed that would ask the Board of Health to enforce some of these. We don't have all of the data yet and all the requests yet, but will we need a special meeting to talk about this new law, this new demand and enforcement, and how well, or if we're going to, how we're going to enforce? It was quite a teleconference, and it was quite confusing, as usual. It was quite confusing, and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, as did not have any real answers, direction, or whatever, except to give us what little information they had. So the question is this something that we may have to meet again? What I'm going to ask you, and take a look at that when it comes in, and hopefully it'll come in by August 1st. And if you feel we need a special meeting, would you give me a call?
Sure, yes. And so just for the other board members, what Dr. Weiner was talking about is the travel advisory. And what is going to be required is when people come into the state, they're going to have to fill out an electronic form. And the form then gets vetted up to the Massachusetts contact tracing team, gets put into a database, and then there's going to be a portal that is set up where boards of health will log in to the portal, and then they'll be able to see those residents or those people in their community that are quarantining for travel. So that is something that has been put on the boards of health. And yet another thing, I suppose, that we're going to have to be looking at with regards to this travel advisory. So we want to make sure that people are adhering to the quarantine. It gives local boards of health the ability to fine up to $500 per day for violations of that of the travel advisory. So that's what we were told today. We haven't gotten any information on the portal. I don't know if that will be up and running by August 1st. I'm imagining that may take some time for that portal to get up and running as well. So there'll be more information on that to come. And we'll just, as we're doing, all along, we'll try to do our best with that as well. And if we do need assistance, we will seek it out or.
Susan, it just seems crazy. I mean, I get it, but it just seems. Are they expecting the local boards of health to be the policing arm of the travel? I mean, it just doesn't even seem like it's logical on top of everything else that we need to do.
Yeah, so the boards of health do have enforcement authority, and what's going to happen is the CTC, or the contact tracing team, it also has this information. So it's my understanding that the contact tracing team is going to be reaching out to everyone who needs to be on quarantine through text messaging. So if you come back, say you come back from a different state, you need to quarantine, CTC will be sending you a text message every day, reminding you about your quarantine and that you need to stay in quarantine and those. So I think it's meant to be a joint effort between DPH and local boards of health, kind of like the way that we're doing, the COVID standards. If we need assistance, we sometimes reach out to the Department of Labor. There's also, for the schools, the Department of early and secondary education. So there's different entities involved, different state departments for each of the standards that we work with to try and get people to reach compliance. So I imagine it's going to be that same type of partnership to try to get people to be compliant. So, but yes, it will add to what we are doing and what we'll need to do. So
This is
Go ahead.
so major, and it could be such a major that we meet as a board and we may need to talk about this.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I suppose we need a bigger boat for sure. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's just a huge effort and endeavor, and to put I think it's to put the onus on the local boards of health after everything that we've already just been through and still continue to manage through is just I think is ridiculous. So.
And it is, I think it's being felt by, a lot of boards of health, across the state. It's that of the, people are getting tired, and we're just trying to keep up with the best that we can. But I think though, one good thing, I suppose, is that when a new thing comes, another thing may wane. So right now, it's great that we're not seeing as many cases as we were. So we're still doing contact tracing, but we're not so involved in that as we were. So that frees up time for us to work more on the standards and things like the travel advisory. But with school opening up, I'm concerned about that. If we start seeing cases in schools with contact tracing and quarantine that will be required for that, that's something that the Board of Health will need to do. We just started seeing guidance from DESE on the school reopening, and the schools are starting to work on their plans now. So I think we do need to be heavily involved in that, and I'm glad that they came tonight to talk about a subcommittee, because I think that's going to be really important. I see the schools reopening as something that is going to take up a lot of our time, especially if we start seeing cases in schools. And honestly, I did see some concerns with some of the stuff that came out from DESE last week. And we can talk about that more in the subcommittee, but it had to do with quarantine requirements for students and teachers. And so that's something that I'd like to bring up at the subcommittee, where we really do need to look closely at these guidelines that are coming down and standards that are coming down from the state to make sure that they are fully protective of public health.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, do I have a motion to approve the Director of Public Health's report?
So moved.
That was Libby.
Second.
Second was whom?
David.
David. All in favor? David McSweeney,
Aye.
Wayne Saltzman,
Aye.
Libby Walenjevich,
Aye.
Mary Beth Welch,
Aye.
and I, Ed Weiner, is aye. I just have one quick thing, a couple of quick things real quickly. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we do have the MRC meeting. The second piece here is I want to thank publicly Mr. James Harrison. He lives on Freeport Drive. He represents us in many of these biotech biotech committees for many of these biotech companies, for the biological safety committees, and I want to thank him publicly at least once a year. I'd like to just thank him. Thank you so much, Jim. He's a former member of the Board of Health. And last, I'd like to ask if there's somebody to volunteer as a member. I'd like a volunteer for the School Committee Board of Health Subcommittee. Is there somebody, Wayne, you were thinking of, since you brought this up, would you be willing, or would you like someone else to take this?
Sure, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there anybody else? I think I can handle the other. Well, thank you so much tonight. I really appreciate it. We had a long meeting, a very complicated meeting. Thank you to our staff. But most of all, thank you to each and every one of you for doing what you need to do. And I appreciate it, and the town appreciates it, and everybody notices. For that, good night. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
David McSweeney, second.
Second.
Wayne, second. All in favor? David?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Libby?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye. And thank
And
you too, Ed.
Thank you. You're welcome. And I 5-0. Good night. Be safe. Be well. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Ed.